My name's Simon. For many years I've been a horror fan. Stephen King, Brian Lumley, those sort of writers. Brilliant writers, everybody knows them. However, there is a third writer in the horror series, horror, or the horror genre, that has not been as widely recognised as these two individuals. His name is Brian Lumley, and he's well known for a series called Necroscope. Necroscope. The series is about an individual called Harry Keogh. His abilities are that of talking to the dead. Necroscope. The story starts off with him being a student, learning how to write books. But his lecturer is a very well educated and very well known English gentleman, and as a result is very well connected amongst British organisation and government departments. He recognises in Harry an ability beyond his years, beyond his knowledge. And he has a friend who's the director of a department called E-Branch, which is a British spy organisation that uses people with supernatural abilities to work for the British government in spying. He thinks there is something going on with Harry, but he's not aware himself. So he has his friend investigate Harry, and they discover his ability to talk to the dead. As a result of this, E-Branch and the British government recruits Harry Keogh to work for the department. He begins investigating a series of murders and finds out there's a Russian spy who is a necromancer, where Harry Keogh just talks to them. He disembowels the dead bodies and interviews them that way, and they're horrified by him, the dead are. And it's a story about how eventually he finds out through investigations, interviews with the dead, that this guy was trained by vampires. And in fact, through the history of life, through the history of humanity, vampires have been around, and they still are. So it's a story about Harry Keogh hunting down the vampires and ensuring that humanity is kept safe from them. The second series was the Vampire World trilogy, Vampire World trilogy. It follows the story after the Necroscope series into the vampire world, where the vampires originally came from, and the vampires desire to take back their own world, or where they originally come from, and to enslave humans and use them as a food source. That's a story about how humans fight back and go to the war with the vampires. It's directly connected to Necroscope, because Necroscope actually introduces you to the vampire world through the series, and it follows on from that. However, there were a number of years between the two series, and eventually a third series was written to explain what happened in those years, and they were called The Lost Years. It was a 2-book series, and it basically followed Harry Keogh tying up loose ends. It was a marvellous series and highly recommended. Eventually, it was a year or so later, E-Branch came out. It follows E-Branch into this present day, 21st century, and the story is they follow vampires to Australia, and the Australian government agrees to help E-Branch fight vampires in Australia and elsewhere in the world. The first book was set in Australia, E-Branch fighting with the SAS against vampires. It's a brilliant series, highly recommended. Necroscope series by Harry Keogh, by Brian Lumley, about Harry Keogh. Highly recommended, and it's probably one of the best reads you'll ever have. Hope you enjoy it, and I hope you find some information that's useful in this review.